Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Rapid Recap here at Inside Nebraska. With me as always is Greg Smith. I'm Zack Carpenter, and today we're coming to you from Memorial Stadium ahead of Wisconsin for Monday's Matt Rhule Game Week press conference. We got the Nebraska legends of old here behind us, and that was something that Matt Rhule sort of touched on, his past history of Nebraska with in regards to coaching moves and coaching changes, and the fans clamoring for a firing or a change of some sort. When Matt Rhule talked a long time today about Marcus Satterfield and his stance on the Nebraska staff.
I feel like he was waiting for that question to be asked and anticipating that one, because he flat out point blank said, how has that worked out around here in the past, which was a direct shot at basically everyone, which is also true at the same time. He also noted, and I think correctly, and something that I've said quite often is I've been deemed like the resident Satterfield defender and apologist, is that it is year one. We have to remind people of that, with a ton of injuries and inexperienced quarterback, and then, well, in this past game, having to play three quarterbacks. Now, there are some things that you can parse through. I do think play calling has not been the best at times, and we can continue to debate about that last drive. Also, they did pick the original quarterback in Jeff Sims, right, and anointed him a future NFL guy. So there are some things, but at the same time, I think the big glowing headline maybe from today is that Matt Rhule definitely said that there will not be a change at offensive coordinator after this season. I actually think he either said it was ludicrous or crazy.
He said ridiculous.
Ridiculous. There you go. He used a good adjective, strong adjective. To say that is not happening. I think that it would go against what he's been talking about and preaching, the preacher's son, all season long about, incremental progress, day by day. We're going to build this foundation solidly. All of those different coach speak things that he says, he does believe them. And to blow out Satterfield right away would be kind of opposite of that.
Yeah, I mean, that was I think one of my main takeaways from his talk about Sat was, it just doesn't make sense to do that after 1 year when you're trying to build something,
with all the things that are happening. You do have to add the context, right? Sorry, jumping in.
No, I want you to go.
You have to add the context to that, because it is not just in a vacuum. People continuously make kind of that comparison because it's Iowa and they're close between, Nebraska, they got an Iowa offense. That offense has been there like 30 years, right? Nebraska has been here one. So it's not an apples to apples comparison. It would have been like 10 plus seasons of this under Satterfield.
If this was the second year,
even if this is the second year, because I do think that we're going to have to see market improvement next year. I think we're going to see new quarterbacks. I've said this for the last couple of rapid recaps, that I think that part of the reason why there are no answers at quarterback is because those answers don't exist on the current roster. And I think that that's a real conversation we're going to have to continue to have. But there's just a lot inside of that to then go ahead and go immediately to replacing the offensive coordinator after 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can get wrong in the first year of a rebuild, and it's been pretty clear for a while now that they made the wrong decision at the one thing you can't get wrong, and that's
right.
Transfer quarterback.
Yep.
Where it's not going to destroy your rebuild or anything like that. It can at times, but it's going to at least set that rebuild back, and which is a point I've made about Heinrich Harburg and the fact that he came along and did what he did to give Nebraska's offense just enough to win games. He sort of saved the year one under Rhule. Now he's not getting it done, but the reason for bringing that up is they won't admit it publicly, of course, but I think internally they probably know we got the transfer quarterback wrong. I think that's the one thing with the Satterfield and Rhule combination where you can be most critical or most frustrated with is they handpicked Jeff Sims, they went and got him, and then the fallout has happened ever since then. But the criticism with Satterfield, I agree. I think he's made some questionable, either poor or questionable at best, decisions on play calling and decisions. I mean, you go back to the Minnesota game they run the ball down Minnesota's throat all the way on 75, 80-yard drive, I think it was, over 15, 16 plays. And the very next drive, after you go up 10-3, got in the fourth quarter, 3 straight pass calls.
Yep.
And then you fast forward to Maryland, they were both very, very, very eerily similar losses. 13-10, interception to give them the ball back, and then they go down and kick a game-winning field goal as time expires. But the comparison from then to now, Satterfield's decision there with the first and goal and third and goal play calls, I disagree with the decision. I understand. We were just talking about this. I completely understand the reasoning for the decisions, but if you're trying to win in year one, if you're trying to win now, yes, but you're trying to build for the future, but you're still trying to win now. Yeah. And I don't think those were the best, even in real time, not just hindsight. In real time, I'm saying, like, why are you throwing it there? Right. But to my point, to your point, because you said that you pointed this out in our Saturday rapid recap after Maryland, is they're making those calls because they're trying to build something for the future. I mean, a winning team, an established program, 3rd and 7 from the 3rd and goal from the 7 in that situation almost certainly throws the ball.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I kind of wanted to set you up to let you tee off because you were sort of the first one to make that point of look toward the future of what they're doing.
Yeah, because I think that's if you were to close your eyes and picture that same scenario like 3 years from now, it would be a touchdown probably, right? Like, because then the guys run the correct routes, the quarterback makes the throw on the money, he makes the proper read, the guy comes open in the corner on the flag route after the 2 unders, as Matt Rhule kind of eloquently laid out the play call at today's press conference today, like, and then he makes that throw over the top and it's a touchdown. But what the problem is that we are not 3 years from now, right? Mm-hmm. And that, like, to your point also, is that you have to make decisions right now if you're Satterfield to win now, based on how your team is playing. And like I also made the point on Saturday, and I think it's a legitimate one, you're in a situation now where the offense is not normal. You have to call things that will work for your team right now. In a normal situation 3 years from now with that offense, that's the perfect play call. Right now, it's just not. Like, so I understand football-wise and coaching-wise how he got there. The same way with the pass plays against Minnesota, like when, people complain that, Emmett Johnson gets a couple of carries and he has good runs and they throw a play action. Well, because in a normal situation, that's what you would do.
Right.
And in a normal situation, as we've seen, though, that comes open and either the guy drops it or it just gets airmailed. Like, you wouldn't see that a couple of years from now, but they've got to work through those kinks. So, yeah, at least you hope not. If it is, we're having a totally different conversation. But you just have to work through those kinks, and I think that's kind of where they are in the process right now. It's not really an excuse, but it is something that I think that Satterfield has to work through in his game day play calling.
As you're talking, I'm kind of harkening back to this whole year of this non-fluid offense. Like, if you look at the drive charts and stuff, and like all year, especially the first half of the year, it's like, what is Nebraska's offensive identity? Because we thought we knew it coming into the year, but then you look at some of the decisions being made, it's like, feels herky-jerky and not consistent. But I'm wondering now if the things you're talking about, like you're calling offense to win, I mean, first off, like the context with all the injuries, and things of those sort. But you're calling a game to win now, but also calling games to like develop them and for the future, build them into like Big Ten contenders down the line. Like, I wonder if that's what we're seeing with the incontinuity of the play calling.
Some of that probably, if you think about the receivers in particular, so Malachi Coleman, who was involved in that interception play, when you think about stuff going on with Emmett Johnson kind of in the backfield, even though he's played well, you got to build for the future with him. But I think it's just it's tough, man. Like, it's a weird thing because I think the most frustrating thing, and I hear you fans, I feel the comments building, is that these are games that Nebraska could have won right now to then get them bowl eligible. And now, as we kind of spin it forward, as we've talked, I don't know for how many minutes now, maybe 10, before we even mentioned the word Wisconsin.
Right.
That same thing happened this morning. We did it again. It happened in the Matt Rhule press conference. I think it was 30-something minutes that
I'm pretty sure it was the second to last question where someone finally asked, hey, by the way, what do you think about Wisconsin?
Not only was it the second to last question, like Keith Mann, the great SID, was actually saying final question, like, or is that it? Like, he was actually trying to wrap us all up before we actually got any Wisconsin questions. But as you kind of spin forward to that, now Nebraska has to go on the road in prime time, NBC, as Matt Rhule now knows. If you watch the press conference, you understand that joke. In a place that
you can watch that on the Inside Nebraska YouTube channel.
You can watch that right here. But Nebraska has not won against Wisconsin since joining the Big Ten. So they either have to do that or they have to beat Iowa next week at home, which they've done one time since joining the Big Ten, to be able to get bowl eligible. So that's why people are so mad about them kind of throwing away a game against Maryland at home that they probably should have won.
Well, especially because, I mean, Matt Rhule and the coaching staff, they've talked about the importance of those, not just the bowl game and what that would mean. Mm-hmm. They haven't talked about, I don't think, as much the bowl game itself, what that would mean. But he's mentioned in the past, like we've said, like he has said almost as a statement of fact, yeah, like when we get to a bowl game, then we'll have team captains like for that month. And he's had subtle moments of throwing it in here and there, but he's straight up mentioned the 15 bowl practices and how important they are. So it's like, and those are huge. Yeah. I mean, for building toward the future, and so that's why it's like, I just think that not playing to win now playing to win now is much more important than, I don't know. It's a dichotomy, right? Like I go back and forth on it because you're wanting both things. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
The best solution to that though would have been just complete the damn pass, and then it would be fine. They were playing for the future and for the now, and we'd be talking about a totally different thing in a way. We'd still be talking about the 22 turnovers from the quarterbacks. Well, it'd be 21 if we hadn't had that one, but they'd be about how they overcame that, and now they're bowl eligible. We'll see if they can get there this week against a team that, by the way, because we didn't talk anything about Wisconsin, is like on a borderline mutiny this week. I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff coming out of Wisconsin, but they had players calling each other out after the game. So, we're going to find out who wants to be here, all of that sort of stuff. Wisconsin has lost 3 straight games, I believe, as well, the same way that Nebraska's last 2 opponents had as well. So we'll see. Nebraska's going against kind of a wounded, reeling Wisconsin team. This is not the same team that, you're used to seeing these last couple of years. But that means that they'll come out and play with their hair on fire.
Right. Yeah. Wisconsin started off 4-2, then lost I think 5-2, and then lost 3 straight now, including Northwestern at home. So Nebraska's going up there with a prime opportunity. I mean, it's just like the Maryland game. Wisconsin's the same way, where I think before the season you look at it, it's like either you automatically, when you're making record predictions, just in a vacuum, like, all right, Maryland's probably a loss, Wisconsin's probably a loss, but you get Iowa at home. But Maryland, as the season progressed, it's like that's way more winnable of a game than we all initially thought. And you've been a leader of that brigade for a while about your thoughts on Maryland.
They do this every year.
But that game was winnable. It was right there on the table. This Wisconsin game will be winnable and on the table as well. If they get better quarterback play, especially I think it starts at the top. And Rhule mentioned that he didn't mention. Rhule's first 10-15 minutes of the 30-minute press conference was statements about the quarterback and correcting the turnover issue right now.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and if you go from 5 turnovers in the game to 2, I think Nebraska will have a much better chance to win. But as we've seen, that's easier said than done for this team.
Yeah, I mean, they were -3 turnover margin Minnesota, -2 on Saturday, -3 or -3 against Michigan State. So. And then against Purdue, Northwestern, Illinois during that win streak, they were -1 in all of those. So it's like
that's the difference.
Just have one more turnover than the opponent, and you're probably going to have a chance to win on Saturday. So again, that's a 6:30 p.m. primetime game on NBC. It's part of the Big Ten Saturday night as we go forward. I mean, we got Sunday night football for the NFL and Big Ten Saturday night for college football on NBC. Should be an electric atmosphere. We'll be boots on the ground there up in Madison on Saturday night. So encourage you guys to right now like this video, subscribe to the Inside Nebraska YouTube channel, because we'll have post-game analysis from the field, as well as plenty of stuff on InsideNebraska.com for you guys to go check out. And you can check out our stuff from today's coverage about quarterbacks, turnovers, and all things that are bad right now going into the Wisconsin game that can get corrected with some right moves. So that'll do it for us. For Greg Smith, I'm Zack Carpenter, and we'll catch you guys again next time.